Hello and welcome to this week's DC Breeze game. This is their fourth game of the year, their third home game. My name is Greg Esser. This week I'm alongside Kevin Chiang, and we are here to broadcast this home game. We were actually both at the game, and you'll even hear my voice intermittently in the background as I was the game day announcer. And of course, that's not my amazing ability to be in two places at one time, but a broadcast that is occurring after the fact. Gives us a little bit of perspective on what happened at the game. We'll be able to see plays for a second time and hopefully really cue into what happened and maybe some of the surrounding context of those plays. The great thing about having Kevin Chiang with us is that he is a former Philadelphia Phoenix player, and he's played for 2 seasons in the AUDL, which is an increasingly rare commodity as teams have kind of moved locations a little bit. And also, many franchises like the DC Breeze himself have only been in place. This is only their second year they're in place. So he's got a lot of perspective on the league and the style of play, and we're happy to have him with us. We're jumping right into the game, and we'll move along at quite a pace here today. It's all killer, no filler, as our video editors have removed all the space in between points. We fit this whole game into a nice little 1 hour special. So thanks for tuning in, and stick with us here as we discuss kind of some of the highlights, some of the play-by-play, and some of the around-the-league action of the AUDL. Kevin, you want to say hello to everyone?
Hey, everybody. Pleasure to be here.
Great. So I think we're seeing right off the bat, it's a Breeze offensive point. They turned it once, but the Phoenix gave it right back, and now we got Pete Anderson with the disc. He's looking upfield and trying to make an opportunity here in this early game. But another throwaway. We're getting off to a sloppy start here. They're at the University of Maryland, and they're playing on a multi-use field, primarily a field hockey and lacrosse field, and it's a little bit different of a surface, which I think I talked to some of the Phoenix players after the game. I talked to some of the Breeze guys after the game, is making a difference on their footing. They are required to wear either sneakers or turf shoes instead of your typical outdoor cleats and your field cleats, your soccer cleats, your lacrosse cleats, that sort of thing.
It was pretty interesting to see. Honestly, when you're playing on this type of field, the turf is a lot more slick. It's a lot harder. The turf is a lot more abrasive. So, and also losing your cleats, you lose that kind of traction that you would have on any other surface like turf or grass. And your cutting ability is pretty limited. You'll see a couple of players had some issues slipping and trying to gain some traction and really putting their power down onto the field. So that's Brian McGurr with the disc swinging around a Wally. Wally was a U23 USA player that recently won gold in Canada. So pretty interesting pickup for the Phoenix. Really happy to see him out on the pro circuit now.
So now an interesting thing, and you already kind of got into it there by mentioning a couple of the players on the Phoenix. A lot of these AUDL teams really have a core of their players from a club team from that area. You see it certainly with the Toronto Rush. A lot of those guys are GOAT guys. You don't always see it with the Breeze, though. This year particularly, they're bringing in guys from Pittsburgh and the Tyler DiGirolamos, the Alex Thorns. They're bringing in Brett Matsuka from North Carolina. And even then, within the local guys, you've got guys from Baltimore, you've got guys from D.C. Those two cities are 45 minutes, an hour apart. So it's a decentralized and a group that's maybe doesn't have the same chemistry with each other as some of the other teams in the league. The Phoenix, however, are kind of one of those teams that forms their core with a group of club guys. And it's actually the club team that both you and I played for last year.
That's correct.
The Lancaster Hiva Havas, or should I say the artist formerly known as the Hiva Havas.
That's right.
And so how do you think that influences, particularly we're only in game 3 for the Phoenix of the year and 4 for the Breeze for the year. How do you think that influences this early chemistry?
I would like to see that. It'd be interesting to see the chemistry differences. As of right now, it doesn't look like there are really all that many issues. There are a couple turnovers right off the bat, and there's another one by, looks like Brian McGurr, just right off the hands. But
yeah, in and out of the hands. I don't know if that's a chemistry one or that's just a little early nerves maybe. And then
exactly, that's what I was just about to say. That's a nice little chip throw around to Matsuka, and he has some pretty unorthodox fakes that you're seeing right over there with a nice scooper and a nice layup D attempt by Kenny Wells.
Certainly what we've seen from Brett Matsuka in the early season is that if you have even a foot of separation on your guy, he's got to throw to get it into your hands.
That's correct. I mean, that's been his bread and butter, especially playing for
Ring
of Fire. Thank you. I mean, he's just been an elite handler, and it's great to see him on the pro circuit as well. I mean, gaining an elite handler like that onto the DC Breeze got to make them an offensive force.
So Phoenix with the possession here. Maybe we'll try to get into the game a little bit. I think it's all tied up right now. So Phoenix with a chance to take an early lead.
And they center around to Kyle Wolf. And that's a big outside-in throw around to Jordan. Good D by...
Aaron Roberts with a layout D. And White Hat's going to take over with possession right here. So the Breeze now with a chance to take the early lead.
Ooh, nice D by Casey. He's a new player for the Phoenix, a new rookie, and getting a D on Matsuka right off the bat, that's got to be a good feeling. And then that's a dump around to Wally. He finds nice open space, and looks like that's a goal to Kenny Wells.
So the interesting thing about Casey, and you and I were talking about that on the way over here, is he's just a young 22-year-old. And so those guys are actually really absent from the DC Breezes roster today, as it is the local day for college regionals. So you see guys like Chris Kocher's out, Mark Lynn is out for regionals, two young guys that made a real difference 2 weeks ago against the Dragons.
And that was a nice D by your brother Sam, right over there.
Sam Esser picking up the D. But so it's interesting. So the Phoenix, because of being a little bit geographically different, are able to loop in some of those college guys. Let's see if the youth makes the difference today.
Yeah, you'll see Casey on the field as well as Will Honey, who I coached throughout his Westchester career, and he's actually a rising junior, so he's actually pulling the disc right now. Known for his big throws, athletic ability to go deep, and he's actually a really strong handler as well. A lot of people see a tall body like that, and they automatically want to throw him as a cutter, and that's what happened last year with the Phoenix. And I don't think we used him to his full potential last year. He, again, is playing deep right now, but he's a really solid handler, and with a wingspan like his, it's probably just about like 6'5", 6'6", in wingspan, and he can just easily break you. And that's just great flow from the DC Breeze for a goal to Tyler DeGeronimo.
And that was Josh Norris that played that really pivotal handler role. I just kind of said that the guy that, these young guys are out. Chris Kocher, who played that kind of apex handler role 2 weeks ago, is out today. And actually, the other big loss today is Alex Thorne, actually out due to injury. A late last-minute scratch from this game. Jose Maldonado took his roster spot, but another apex handler missing from the DC Breeze lineup. And so because those two guys are missing, I think this game really depends on someone like Josh Norris to step up and play that central handler role, Brett Matsuka to step up and play that central handler role, and really move that disc across the field like we just saw. So we missed the Phoenix effort there, and I think the Phoenix might even be up 4-3 right now in this early game, and the Breeze will have a turn here to try to tie it up. And there's Josh Norris with a disc. He finds DeGeronimo upfield.
It's a pretty interesting look coming from the Phoenix. They're coming out with a kind of junky kind of zone. Not really sure what type of defense this is, but they're sinking off some of their handler defense and just really making the Breeze push it side to side. Jarnell with the disc, and really good handler movement right now from the DC Breeze.
It's interesting, yeah, you were kind of trying to break down what sort of defensive look is going on by the Phoenix right now. I think a lot of the, big over-the-top look finds DeGeronimo, and that's a point. So a lot of what I saw in that defense is, I think, what a lot of the wily, little bit older guys that I play with would call it switchy man.
Switchy man, all right.
Which means that as soon as the handler that you're guarding loses the disc and maybe makes a move downfield, you're willing to switch with your defender off and on to handlers that are showing a lot of movement.
Kind of seeing the same thing right here from the DC Breeze. So getting trapped on the sideline, it looks like they're putting a double team on Dave Kelly right now. Dave Kelly was also a Hiva Hava player and
a rookie this year on the Phoenix.
Oh yeah. Kyle Wolf with a big hammer to free up some space. They get some yards going upfield, about 20 yards out from the end zone now. Centered. I'm not even sure who that is, but.
So one of the things you admit, I sensed your natural desire to talk about the defenses, and I think that makes a lot of sense because you tend to be a D-line guy. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about some of the differences between the club scene defense and the AUDL's defensive structure.
Yeah,
Is it different?
so the main thing that you'll notice in a lot of defenses, and that's a nice find from Kyle Wolf.
Dave Kelly wide open.
Yeah, just snuck behind the defense and just sat into some open space, which was real nice. The main difference that you'll see from club to AUDL or any kind of MLU, like any pro circuit kind of defense, is that in the pros, it's all ref officiated, so it's a lot more physical. You can kind of get away with some jersey pulling, some hooks, kind of stuff like that, and some bumping and grinding downfield. Something that I found out my first year as a spinner was that if they're not going to call it, that's kind of something that you have to play with. A lot of people are going to argue that's not spirit of the game, and a lot of it is you kind of test to see like where you can get away with and stuff like that, but at the same time you still try to play honesty. It's not like you're actively trying to cheat and hold anybody back. You might have some of those players around the league, but I honestly haven't experienced any of that.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it's something less about like jersey pulling and like intentional contact, but it is just much more a way of a physical bump and grind. Like you're cutting into space, and you're not worried about that person, falling over and trying to draw a penalty, because if they fall over, they're going to call something, right? It's the referee's discretion. I think sometimes that makes it a little harder to draw the penalty because you're not the self-officiating it.
Yep, and that's actually pretty interesting that you would say that, because something that you were always taught, or that I was always taught in, just regular ultimate, not the ref-officiated ultimate, is to throw through the foul. Because even if you do throw it and you get fouled, you can still call the foul and it'll come back. So it doesn't really matter. But something to think about when you're in the pro circuit is that if you throw through the foul and the ref doesn't call it and it's a turnover, it's a turnover. So that's just one small little snag in the differences.
Yeah. So it's all tied up at 5. Actually, so there was a Saturday game this week where the Breeze were up in Philadelphia. And we saw that game run to, I think, an 8-point differential where the Breeze won it. And so we're seeing the Phoenix really hang around in this early game. We're not seeing that same separation right away. And so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's some adjustments that the Phoenix have made. We'll see how it plays out throughout the middle and later portion of this game.
That's some great side-to-side movement from the DC Breeze. And that's a high-release flick from Matsuka to Jose.
And Jose finds Matsuka back, and one more time to Jose, a little give and go, gets the point.
And honestly, it doesn't look like chemistry is an issue for the DC Breeze. Give and goes like that tend to be a little bit difficult when you haven't played with somebody traveling like Matsuka is from North Carolina, but really didn't look like it affected them at all. So here's a double team from the DC Breeze again.
And so the one thing I would say about this Breeze defense that we're witnessing here a little bit is I felt like we've really seen in the early games this season a propensity for the Breeze to play kind of 2 men rabbit on the disc, following the disc wherever it goes. And
that's a big sky from Will Honey.
And that's Honey showing his height off a little bit.
And bad choice. Is that white hat with the D?
That's white hat with the D.
Yeah.
So maybe both showing his but actually I remember this play during the game, and white hat fouled. Actually, I think whoever was on Hone fouled Hone on the throw, and white hat gave back possession to the Phoenix as a makeup call, considering that you can't self-officiate, he can't make the call, but he can certainly give back the disc. So very spirited play, very interesting considering.
We're just seeing this.
And actually, here's the penalty on the throw. Maybe it's Matsaka.
Yep, Matsuka fouls Tony, and White Hat gives it back.
So, interesting that we're seeing the spirit kind of play out in such a fashion that players are willing to give back the disc even at the cost of maybe their own statistics.
Yep.
So here's Breeze with possession again, and the clock expires on the first quarter.
But a timeout was called just before, about 2 seconds left. This was actually pretty interesting to watch because calling a timeout right at the end of a quarter, it just kind of lends itself to some highlight plays. You kind of have a tendency for big throws, and you see a nice big hammer right there.
and the clock doesn't restart until the first completion. And so you saw those 2 seconds linger on the clock, and now the Phoenix even get to toss one up. And it'll get brought in, but I think the clock has now expired. That 2 seconds is out. So, end of the first quarter. There we go, 6-6. As I mentioned before, the Phoenix maybe made some adjustments, and they're really hanging around today. Unlike early yesterday's game, I think they went down 7-1 before they really started to turn it on.
Exactly, yeah. I was talking to some of the Phoenix players after the game, and they were saying that going down 7-1 really just, I mean, obviously it hurts any team, but it obviously hurts the morale a little bit more. But they eventually lost the game, I think, only by 7 or 8. So really the difference maker was the slow start in game 1.
They almost held their own after going down 6.
Exactly, and that's just a careless turn right in their own end zone right there.
So here's Whitehead with a disc, looking to get a quick score and showing a little patience. He goes back to DiGirolamo and a give and go.
And that's just solid end zone work. I mean, you center that, and the defense has to overcommit to seal that break, and Tyler gives it right back to Whitehead and takes advantage of the defense overcommitting and scoots up line, and that's an easy score for the DC Breeze.
So the Breeze are going to play a little bit of defense now, and I don't know what's up. We're seeing a little bit of tough camera work here. Maybe some stabilization. The camera might be off, but we're gonna fight through that. You know, we'll weather the storm here.
And again, Wally with the disc, going through a double team, gives it to Dave Kelly, pushes it up line. Nice little give go up along the sideline. A little tough to see what's happening on the field right there, but swings it back to Wally. Wally's just one of those players that he might not always make the highlight reel, but he's going to be super, super consistent. I remember playing with him, and that's a foul on the DC Breeze, just a little too close on that double team.
So the interesting kind of player that Wally is, and so I played with him as well, is for a Phoenix team that didn't have very many players last year with more than a 95% completion rate. He might be, he might play on a very similar team, a team that takes a lot of high risks, but I don't think he's going to be the guy that still sinks below 92, 93, 95%.
Yep.
He's a high-rate completion guy, and that's something that the Phoenix haven't always had, which is interesting that they'll play with that style player.
Yep, and I think that's a huge pickup for them. I mean, defensively, he's a beast. He'll make chest head-high layouts, and again, like on a turn, there he is for a goal. I mean, he's just super quick. You can't keep track of him on the field, and like when he's behind the disc handling, he's controlling everybody downfield, distributing very, very nicely cross field, and like you said, he's not going to be one of those guys that's just going to launch it deep like most of the Phoenix players are.
He still got pretty fired up when he scored there. You have a taco,
of course.
A taco over there.
I mean, especially in a tight game like this, you try and fire up your team a little bit. Spike might be a little bit much, but it'll definitely pump up your teammates.
Sure. So here we see the Breeze on offense, and that's Norris with a creative throw across the field to Anderson. Anderson back to Jarnell. Jarnell, again, these big kind of around throws, finding Norris again.
Something to note was that the wind direction is coming towards the camera a little bit, and it was definitely off and on. So you might notice that in some of the discs when they're up flying. You might see the disc jump a little bit. You might see some players just kind of drop a careless throw, and it might have been jumping just a little bit.
So Trackman with the disc, finds Jarnell. He's going to dump it to Trackman again and looks around, finds DiGirolamo under. And again, a nice little bladey flick, finds Norris. Norris to Jarnell, a lot of handler play here. It's DiGirolamo on the end zone line.
Kind of a double team at the end zone, drops it back to Jarnell, swings it back into the middle.
There's Trackman with the disc.
That's good movement by
There's
the
Anderson
Breeze.
To DiGirolamo. This is some patience that we didn't really see from either of these teams last year. They were both kind of teams that were going to gun it or find something, and we just saw almost 12 throws in a 10-yard span of the field, and the Breeze waited out and find their man.
That is definitely correct. I mean, honestly, last year we always played each other really tough, but that is patience that I did not see from the DC Breeze last year.
So we're seeing that same defensive structure here from the Breeze, where they've got 2 men on the disc, but they've got 3 midfielders kind of webbed out across the center of the field, something that is a little bit new for their defensive structure, considering their play the first 2 weeks of the season. And the Phoenix are showing a willingness to work with it. Nope, they're going to pull the trigger.
And that's Dave Kelly with a big outside-in flick to Jordan that just gets D'd up. And that's always a tough throw for a receiver to catch, because he always has to worry about the sideline. He can't go too far out, whereas the defense can obviously play the disc out of bounds. And that's just a nice D by, I'm pretty sure that was Skunk on the D right there.
I think you're right.
Matsuka with the disc again, flips it up. And that's a nice D. Something that you'll notice with Dave Kelly is that he is just a big, big man. Whenever we were scrimmaging and we were, he was marking me, I actually have to look under his arm to see downfield. That's not really the case with the DC Breeze, as they're actually a pretty tall team. So, but it's just something to take note. He can obviously break people at will. He has every throw in the book, the lefty backhand. He has scoobers, big downfield hammers, and that's a nice inside break to Casey.
Yeah, I think I saw an infographic the other week that talked about the overall height of the DC Breeze team, and I think their average height is 6 foot. So that's probably a pretty tall average, particularly when you look at this Phoenix team or the Rochester team that was in town the other week. But certainly, for every Tyler DiGirolamo weighing in or measuring in at 6'4", that means there's a guy who's 5'8". Your Brett Matsuka. Wow, that's a great play, I think, by Liam. Oh, maybe he didn't quite keep it up. Shramko unable to keep possession of the disc there. Out by the Phoenix. They got the disc on that drop by Shramko, or that short pass that couldn't get it to Shramko, and they put out an offensive line to see if they can score a quick point here.
Jordan has the disc in the center, centers to Jeff Keel, around all the way to Wally on the sideline, back to Keel over here in the middle, gets bumped by the defense, and he'll take a penalty up about 5-10 yards away from the end zone. High backhand flip to Kenny Wells for the easy score.
So I think we're seeing, and we mentioned this earlier, so maybe we are the prophets we think we are. Some real physical defense. A lot of defensive players willing to break the flow of the offensive team and take those 10-yard penalties.
Somebody that actually did that very, very well last year was Frankie Harris, who is chasing on the mark over here. You can notice him by his big grizzled beard. Whenever the Phoenix played the Hammerheads last year, he was always their number 1 defender. Bumped, and he actually got ejected from the game last year. Got into a little tussle with our former teammate Jugs, Zach Thurston.
So that's maybe the question that I'd pose to you then is, is that 10-yard penalty enough of a penalty? If the players are showing a willingness to do it to stop flow, is it enough?
I think it is, only because you really don't see that kind of physical, you don't see it every other throw. I think that, people are still playing with spirit, and that's a nice run-through D by, I think that's TJ Ryan? I'm not exactly sure there, but, and that's a really nice inside-out flick to Tyler DiGirolamo in the end zone.
That was Logan Ryan with the D.
So that ties the score up at 9-9 with about 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the second quarter. I'm sorry.
Yep. And so this is game's still on par, and the Phoenix with a chance now to keep it just like that.
Big rip from Kyle Wolf up the sideline. Going up and getting it is Jeff Keel, actually.
Jeff
Wow.
Keel from all the way from the handler slot.
Yeah, not exactly your deep cutter. He's probably about 5'9", probably about my height, so not exactly your ideal deep threat, but he's got some wheels on him and can definitely show that speed off sometimes. That's a low throw that somehow stays up. Back to Jardinell and all the way over onto the sideline.
Norris finds DiGirolamo downfield, and they march it right in the end zone. It's Liam Shramko with the score. If there's anything that's both teams on those last 2 possessions, maybe the Phoenix willing to do a more risky put, but really pretty pretty quick possessions, limited throws, limited time run off the clock. In a matter of 30 seconds, both teams score again to keep this game knotted up.
And another big throw by Kyle Wolf, and he's looking for Jordan Winey, who just takes a bad line to it, but also Matsuka playing some tough D on that.
They got a little tangled up there in each other, it looks like, but incidental as the disc went quite a distance. And there's White Hat showing off.
Nice big throw and D'd up by Brian McGurr off the fingertips of Kyle Wolf, and that's out of play.
Wow, after we commented on how smooth those last 2 points look, this one is anything but, as both teams show kind of rudimentary, fundamental errors. And the Breeze will call a timeout, and they'll make sure they've got their ideal offensive line out on the field.
Yeah, and you can see that Dutchy's really taking charge of that huddle and just making sure that he has the personnel that he wants out there. Honestly, I think, we were talking about the big pickups of Alex Thorne, Tyler, Matsuka, but I think, honestly, the biggest pickup is probably Dutchy as a coach. He has a lot of experience and commands a lot of respect in the DC area, and you're noticing a different team dynamic from this DC Breeze as compared to last year's, and a lot of that is definitely through the coaching.
So you mentioned there, taking command of the huddle. So this is an interesting question for you because you are a coach of a college team, and certainly you've been inside of these huddles in the professional scene. What type of messaging do you think needs to be delivered in those huddles? Do you think it is strategic, or do you think it is a mental game? What kind of message would you deliver to a team?
Right now, with the score as it is, all knotted up, I think a lot of it is really just about being passionate, getting fiery. There's been a kind of a lax in defense on both the DC and Phoenix right now. So if I were in that huddle, I would definitely be trying to fire up the team, making sure that if since the DC Breeze were on offense there, I'd be making sure that it's clean, consistent throws, a clean strong cuts, making sure that you're taking advantage of what the defense is giving you, but at the same time, and that's a huge D by Jose.
Wow, that should be a top 10 maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
AUDL top 10, I think we just witnessed it here.
Yeah, we just commented on how Casey was a solid new player, and just a little lax right there and just didn't go all the way through the disc, and Jose took advantage and nice chest high layout. Tyler with a huge hammer all the way downfield and in for the score. That puts the DC Breeze up 12-10 with 1:30 left in the second quarter.
And that was Brad Scott who brought in the hammer. This is what the Phoenix can't have. I mean, we saw them keep this really tight game. I think, are we gonna?
Yep, and here it is. Boom! Just an amazing layout. I mean, just sacrificing the body. Like I said earlier, with this turf, it's definitely very abrasive, and he's probably feeling it still today, but definitely worth it.
Pretty cool too, considering that I mentioned earlier that he wasn't even on the active roster going into this game. It was going to be Alex Thorne, and Jose, the last minute ad, then gets the big play. So cool that he maybe got fired up by Dutchy in that last huddle.
Yeah, definitely. And that's pretty interesting too that you say that he took the place of Alex Thorne, because Alex Thorne, a phenomenal player, but not really known for his defensive prowess, and he'll make those huge layouts for the but you rarely see him make big layouts like that in his own end zone and make those Ds. So could be a game changer right there. We'll see.
Oh, he wanted another one.
Wally with the disc on the far sideline puts it up to can't really see. I think that's Hampson. Right back to Wally, around to Kyle Wolf. That's good flow by the Phoenix, going upfield, then back and around, and just as I say that, that's a good layout D.
Frankie Azera gets his layout D on Hampson there as the Phoenix try to turn their intent upfield but can't find his hands. Here's Matsuka with the disc. There's only 30 seconds here, I think, in the half, and so we'll see what the Breeze can do if they can make it count and go into half up by 3.
It's a big floaty and D'd up by Kenny Wells.
Zara can't get bookends on that one.
That's definitely something that Kenny's known for. He just he likes to play deeps, and he'll definitely sky some people for that. And that's just another turnover.
But with 20 seconds. Oh wow, that's a timeout
called by the DC Breeze. However, I'm pretty sure they don't have one here, and
They've already used 2 timeouts this quarter, so that's going to actually result in a turnover. So mental errors by both teams because the Phoenix really can't be affording to turn it over on their own 20-yard line with only 20 seconds to play. But the Breeze certainly can't be calling timeouts when they don't have any.
Exactly. And that's just, you might be fatigued, especially after 2 quarters of play. In any given Ultimate game, you're really only playing to 15. So, and the score being 10 to 11 right now, or 10 to 12, you've basically played a full game as of right now.
So we'll see if the Phoenix can make the most out of their last 20 seconds here, keep it within 1 for the half,
Brian
and put up the big fly.
Deep. Oh, and Kenny Wells with the big-time sky with the nice spike at the end, trying to get his team fired up. I really like that play.
That's what the Phoenix need. They need to keep this game close coming into half because, as we discussed yesterday, it was when they got down by a couple, they were it's hard to keep the energy up.
Exactly.
So they've got 3 seconds to play. We'll see the Breeze probably try a similar Hail Mary approach, with just a couple seconds on the clock. Here's Jarnell. And he puts up a big fly. Looks like DiGirolamo in the end zone. And a couple.
And go figure, Tyler comes down with the disc. I mean, honestly,
over a whole crowd there.
And with 3 seconds left, you have to be throwing out your tallest line out there. Last year with
and
the
look
Phoenix,
at that group. There's 4 Breeze guys that are all probably 6'3" and above. So that's exactly
and I mean, Tyler looks like he's one of the shortest ones out there, but still comes down with it. Just shows how explosive of a player he is. But like I was saying, last year with the Phoenix, with about 3 seconds left, or however many seconds left in a quarter, you throw out your skyline out there. That's your tallest players, and you know that you're looking for those 50-50 balls.
Yep. So that really negates that Kenny Wells play a little bit. The Phoenix thought they had all the energy going in, but with just 3 seconds on the clock, the Breeze are able to keep that lead at 2 and go into the second half here. And we're going to see the Breeze start in the center of the field, and it's Jarnell with the disc, the same guy who put up that big throw to end the first half.
And you kind of saw that disc jump right out of Jarnell's hands right over there going around. And I think the wind is starting to pick up just a little bit. Like right there, that's something that Tyler doesn't typically drop. Wind might have played just a little bit, just jumped a little bit into his hands and just dropped it, like right off the fingertips. Frankie Harris with the disc. Flick over around. Oh, and a nice bid by Sam Esser right over there. Saves possession for the Phoenix. Swings it around to Steve NG, also known as Sting. Plays for the Philly club team AMP. Frankie Harris with a nice inside throw, but gets D'd up. That's a really nice play by the DC Breeze player.
It's Danny Denon. Oh, no, that's TJ Ryan.
Finding open space on the flick side.
And here's Peter Anderson with the disc. He'll look over to Jarnell. Jarnell going to continue the flow over here. It's Norris. Back to Jarnell. Jarnell on the sideline. Comes back to the middle of the field to Peter Anderson. Peter Anderson, they're keeping it working. They're not letting the stall count get over 2 or 3. Here's Trackman on the side.
Ooh, off the fingertips.
In and out of TJ Ryan's hands.
And out of play.
Couldn't get the bookends that he so desired.
Oh, and there is a foul called on the play on Will Honey. Just a little too aggressive on that D, so the Breeze will get it back on that sideline.
Oh, and TJ Ryan, yeah.
I believe that's another foul on Will.
Okay.
Just that long wingspan getting in the way of that D.
So one more chance for TJ Ryan to get the assist, and he does by finding Tyler DiGirolamo. That's maybe his 5th or 6th or 7th goal of the game.
I'm not even sure. It's hard to keep track with that kid. I was actually checking out the stat line of the last game, and his plus minus for that game was plus 15. Let me pull up those stats real fast.
Well, so let me ask you this then. I mean, if Saturday's game, he was a huge factor, which we know he was, and if he's turning out to be a huge factor in this game, I'll ask you the $1 million question that maybe every coach in the AADL should be asking themselves right now: is when you come up against the Breeze, how do you stop it?
And that's honestly the question that every team in the Eastern Division has to be thinking about right now. I think the Phoenix we're doing a pretty good job in the first half, throwing out some junk and mainly containing Tyler to not get those long balls deep. But he's definitely showing that he is an explosive player in the second half, already with 2 goals. And that's a tough D by DC, and I think that was injury called by Brian McGurk. Just went up and landed awkwardly on that hard turf.
Yep. And again, that lacrosse turf. It was Skunk that got the D, but also took out his man in the process. So the Phoenix will come back, and they will still score that point.
And that's Jordan Winey scoring that disc. He was another one of those Messiah pickups. The Phoenix picked up Chris Schultz and Jordan and assistant coach Charlie Hops. So 3 Messiah guys, all I think around the 2007 year. And that's Chris Schultz actually on the mark right over there. You can tell by that long hair and that orange headband. So all great players and great pickups for the Phoenix.
So up by 2 breaks now. The Breeze on offensive possession, and we see Jarnell outside to Sam Trackman, and there's some give and go there. They're being very patient. It's Logan Ryan on the near sideline. Looks back to Jarnell.
And again, this is one of those types of defenses that's not mainly aimed to get the D. It's just aim to make the defense or the offense throw as many throws as possible.
And really, that's the kind of throw that this defense is trying to force, is
exactly
that over-the-top hammer.
Yep, exactly. It's a low percentage throw, and, with the wind being kind of jumpy, sometimes you never know. It can play tricks on you, and they might get a careless drop. Not that time, and that was an easy score for the DC Breeze.
But both teams are showing a willingness, well, particularly the Breeze here, a real willingness to throw those anyway, and they're completing them with pretty regular consistency.
Yep.
Which is, I think what the Phoenix need to do is they need to not just be content with the throw, but they also want to have someone in the vicinity. Just a little bit of pressure on that upside down throw will make a lot of difference.
Man, that is a lofty throw, and I think that was actually out the back.
It's a monster throw out the back of the end zone. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Kyle Wolf is known for. He.
He's known for the out of the back of the end zone throw.
maybe not that, but just big time hugs from Kyle Wolf. Playing with him all last year, we would probably center the disc once, twice, and then just jack it deep to your brother Matt Esser or Ben Sheridan, both playing for the Spinners right now. And with 2 cutters like that, you pretty high percentage. Matsuka with the disc, around upfield, and
it's Pete Anderson with the disc now, and he's looking around. He finds Matsuka back again. And they're going to do a little give and go in the backfield, make that defense move around.
I really like that matchup with Wally marking against Matsuka. Both elite time players, and that's a good battle right there. And honestly, just a poor throw more so than anything. It wasn't really a good D, or it wasn't really Matsuka's fault either. The throw was just a little too lofty.
So my experience with both those players, and I like you kind of called up that matchup. Seems like a matchup that maybe doesn't necessarily benefit either team, but a very interesting one nonetheless. Because as far as at least the way I characterize players, they both tend to be very technically savvy defenders. They're not they're guys that are certainly willing to put their body on the line and be physical, but they're guys that persevere and win based on their weight was in the right position, or their footwork was in such a fashion that they were able to get positioning on the disc on you. And so when they're marking against each other, it's a real treat to get to see how they work.
Exactly. If I was showing this to my college team, I would definitely be highlighting those 2 players as kind of people to watch. There's all of these players are obviously very talented and supreme athletes, but those 2 are just fundamentally sound in the ultimate knowledge. So DC Breeze is again coming out with that double team. It seems like whenever Philadelphia is deep in their end zone, and a big time hammer from Dave Kelly floats and
contested.
That's unfortunate. That was going into the wind, and
so that's
really just had 2 defenders right there, and Whitehat flips it in for the score.
So that was the last resort there, flipping it to Kelly, and Kelly's willingness to go over the top with a big hammer. You really saw the Phoenix defense get trapped not only on the sideline but in the corner of the end zone, meaning that 2 dimensions, both to the break side as well as behind them. No dump was available, no break was available. So they only had the open side and the corner.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge to get pinned in that area of the field.
So I believe the score is about 16-12 right now. So Phoenix really needs to put in the score right over here.
It's getting breezy.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you're in this kind of situation, you really just got to possess the disc, and the Phoenix are doing a good job of it right now, kind of flipping it back and forth, hammers over the top, in an open space. I really like that. They're with 53 and 3/4 of the yard. there's
Very
a lot.
precise of you.
Yeah, of course. You have to read that Ultimate Handbook or the AUDL rulebook. But I mean, it is just such a wide field. You can always find open space on that break side, and the Phoenix are doing a really good job of that right now. Just flipping it side to side, tiring out those the two people in there, and that's a nice layout for the goal. I believe
save possession there.
Yeah, that's Casey again.
Casey
So
starts out.
17-13, and that's a good possession by the Phoenix. That was kind of do or die right there for them.
So if the Phoenix want to keep their spirits high, though, they're going to need a break or two right now because the Breeze came right out of half, took care of business, and now a 4-point lead is going to start looking pretty insurmountable if they can't get a break or two. So here we see the Breeze offense, and here's Norris with the disc. He goes to an around forehand and finds DiGirolamo under. DiGirolamo looks back to Norris in the center, and we see some contact on the mark by Mike Reeves. Norris gets his 10 yards.
So what's pretty amazing is that in the college scene, Tyler was making his name known by going deep and just outrunning people and skying people. Now you can see him on the unders, getting the disc on a regular basis, and his handling has improved tremendously. He's gotten so much better, and that's a big flick from Sting into just a huge hospital pass. But the only good part about that throw right there is that Tyler wasn't in the mix right there. You have Mike Reeves and Brett Sawyer going up for the disc, and two of your better athletes going up. So not a terrible choice. I just wish there was less traffic there.
Yeah, so I mean, you've seen 2 or 3 possessions now where the Phoenix are definitely antsy to get the big break. They're throwing really early in the count, and they're throwing full field.
I'm sorry to interrupt you right there, but right on cue, Tyler with a nice inside-out backhand in the open space. I mean,
showing off that prowess with the disc.
Yeah, I mean, he's just unstoppable right now. He's going up, getting the scores, getting the unders, and then hucking it deep. I mean, how do you stop this kid?
Yeah. So the point I was going to make there briefly is to say the Phoenix have been quick on the trigger the last 2 or 3 possessions. Even there, they had the opportunity for a break. They're going to throw it up right away, but they're throwing it not to open targets because they are so trigger happy. They're throwing it into traffic, and the Breeze are really taking advantage of that. So the Phoenix have a chance to at least try to save some face here, get a point, maybe go on a run for a break, but they've got to start with their offensive line. And so they see that's Hampson in the middle, I think.
Hampson's another one of those players that has really developed as an ultimate player. First burst onto the scene probably like 2 years ago as just a freak athlete. He was in the Spinners Combine and ended up with one of the highest verticals, and he was just a freak athlete. You just send him deep and you throw up 50 balls. Your brother said it best, you feed your athletes, and that's certainly what they did with Hampson for a while. And now since he's touching the disc so much, he is learning throws like that. He's kind of in that realm with Tyler, but I think as of right now, Tyler might have a slight edge on Hampson. And I know I'm going to get some feedback from...
Certainly today he does. Yeah. Okay, so then we saw the Phoenix score on their offensive possession, and now it's where they make it a game, right? They've got to figure out a way to stop this onslaught that the Breeze have come about with their offense in the second quarter. But they can't do it, and DiGirolamo assists another one, and that time it's to Jarnell, streaking all the way from the backfield to score his first point of the evening.
Yeah. Jarnell's not exactly known for scoring. He's mainly the assist guy. Stays behind the disc quite a bit and directs some traffic. So good to see him in the end zone.
So one of the things that I wanted to kind of grill you on a little bit, if I could today, and we've seen a frustrated, again, streaking to the end zone, but really quick on that trigger for the Phoenix, not showing the patience that's needed to get these scores across. But the point that I wanted to make is, so especially as you see these offenses and defenses pulling the trigger quickly and not finding connections. How are you in terms of teaching the students you work with, the college players you work with, set plays versus feeling the flow of the game? And are you an advocate of set plays?
I do like set plays. It's kind of tough in Ultimate to run set plays, mainly just because it is a free-flowing game, kind of like soccer. You might kind of get into like instances in the end zone where you have a give-and-go type of play that you can automatically run once you're there, but typically when you're, in your end zone or midfield, you kind of just go free flow. You kind of have like your set handlers that you like to sit back, and you might have a weave or something like that you try and run just to get a couple of touches in before the defense can really set up. But I really, what's interesting is that set plays are pretty much non-existent in the pro scene because you're allowed to be moving even before the disc is checked in. So you can actually start out in a position, but you can start running before the disc is checked in. So it kind of puts a different kind of feel on some set play looks that.
So maybe I'll disagree with you there a little bit. I mean, certainly the Breeze last year had a couple set plays that we used. Are you saying that the Phoenix last year not so much?
Not typically. I mean, honestly, we were mostly just. We found open space. We had a couple that we would get off of like resets when we were coming in from out of bounds or something like that. We'd have like a slice crossing through the middle, but nothing too fancy, and it was usually just one throw, and then we'd get back into our free flow kind of offense.
So we saw Breeze break on that last point, and they've got the opportunity to do so again, and they will. And I think that's Jakoski with the score. And nice of looks like Skunk there to catch that disc for him, so it doesn't talk up.
And at 21-14, at this point, it's pretty demoralizing for the Phoenix. You really want, as a coach, you really just want to put a line out there that's going to give it their all. A little soft in that end zone D right there. I think there could have been a D, but then again, our perspective is a little skewed.
So let's see if the Phoenix can keep it reasonable here as they start out on an O-line. And here's Wally with the disc.
Pushes
Hampson
it up to
underneath.
Hampson, yeah, and then gives it right back to Wally. Wally's going to be another one of those handlers that's going to get it give and go kind of
Not
style.
showing a lot of patience once again, and it's an overthrow.
Yep. And he was looking for Hampson deep, so that was one of those give and go. Like Hampson had just dropped it back and just found open space, and he had a step on his man, but again, that was a downwind throw, so he just overshot. Skunk with a nice big flick going up towards the middle. Jeff Keel with a nice D, and quick transition into the center over there.
All right, so Phoenix have a second shot on this offensive possession, and they're looking upfield. Kyle Wolf puts it up.
It's a good read, and that's just good D, I think.
And it's again Brett Matsuka willing to kind of body up his defender there, and the disc goes a little long, and then no one's on it.
Yep, and actually that was a foul, so Danny will check the disc in right over here. Danny, just one of those veteran players, and he's consistent like that. He'll just throw for scores, and
he's one of the few guys out there that's showing some patience for the Phoenix right now.
Yeah, and that's definitely needed right now.
You can even hear a little bit of the wind in the background here on the microphone on the camera. I don't know if it'll make the final cut or not, but I can certainly hear it. This game is getting breezier as it goes on, both in terms of who's scoring the most points and in terms of the weather. Bad puns are my jam.
I was actually just about to say that. It was a little bit shoddy camera work right there to show the pool, but and a nice D by my boy Boosh right there.
Anthony Bushik.
Yep, absolutely love this kid. He works his butt off. I had a sense of myself there, but he's definitely one of those players that works 110% every single time he's on the field. Great to see him get that D.
But the Phoenix again can't retain possession, and Brett Matsuka
nice
is going to
downfield
put it to
throw.
Tyler, and Tyler goes up and gets one.
Yeah, and
that was impressive on a couple levels, right? That's Tyler showing what Tyler does, but that's also Brett in the corner of his own end zone putting a full field upwind huck with a mark on him from a standstill.
And that just shows how good these players actually are. I mean, just ripping it upfield that far is a feat unto itself, and then having a mark on there as well, it's really impressive to see these guys out there just throwing in like wind like this. So Hampson with the disc right over here, flips it to Kyle Wolf, pushes it up to Jeff Keel. along the sideline, and that's one of those chemistry issues. Jeff thought he was going to cut a little bit.
From two players that play on the same club team, though.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's, and where is the defense? This is where, as a coach, you're kind of just pulling your hair out because you want to see some kind of life from your team. It's it's late in the game, and this game might be lost already, but at the same time, you would like to see your teammate or your team players just giving it all their all right there.
And
just another overthrow right there.
Yep, that's a little bit of the wind.
Just getting careless. That's good makeup D by Kyle Wolf right there, though. I think he might have fouled the guy. Yep,
he fouled Frankie, and so Breeze will retain possession. Frankie looking to drop it to Skunk. Skunk looks upline to White Hat. And that's a quick score.
Yep.
Not only was that a turnover, but that was some turnover with some pretty bad field positioning. Considering the direction the wind is coming from, Phoenix can't afford to turn it there.
Yep. I mean, you can't really afford to do that when you're all tied up, let alone when you're down by close to 8-9 points. So Kyle Wolf with the disc on the sideline over here. Flick up to, I believe that's Mike Reeves. And up to Hampson along the sideline, kind of just jamming it up. Finds some space into the middle, finds Wally, finds Skylar Redding, who came from the Spinners, and finds Reeves, and that's just really good work. That's something that you want to see from the Phoenix. Just fundamental ultimate right there.
So they resist the temptation for the big huck, and now they're threatening on the goal line. Here's Kyle Wolf with the disc.
Dumps it back. And off the hands right there.
And for all the things that went right on that point, it just takes one to go wrong, enough throws, and the Phoenix turn it over. So we see the Breeze defensive line go to work, and Josh Norris started with the disc. Now, I don't even know who put that up, but it is Brett Matsuka who brings it. Nope, no, it's not. Certainly not. It's Logan Ryan who brings it in.
And it looks like another communication breakdown on the defense, and that's an easy score for the DC Breeze.
That's Bradley Scott getting his name in the books for today. So I was going to comment, so I was thinking about this more and more, and so we were saying how there's even communication problems among some of the same club player teammates on the Phoenix. And there is somewhat of a core on the Breeze, and it's not of a club team, but there are 6 or 7 players on this team that all played for Towson University. And so when I saw the Skunk and White Hat chemistry in the backfield, those guys have been doing that together for a year, so there is a little bit of chemistry there for sure.
Yep, and Towson is a pretty solid program. They put out a lot of strong players. There were actually a couple more Towson players on your previous DC Breeze team.
Yep.
I know, I'm not exactly sure of his last name, but Joey was another one of those players, and that's a nice run-through D by Matsuka. That's just poor fundamentals by the Phoenix not coming to the disc, and easy D for Matsuka.
So, because you do have a little bit of purview of this game's maybe getting a little bit out of control. We'll let it keep going on in the background, but I want to ask you maybe a question that's not directly related to the game here today. And so you're a coach of a college team. It's Westchester University.
That's correct. Yep.
So maybe give us your predictions for College Ultimate. They announced the field, or I guess regionals are over. We know what the fields are set for nationals. Who do you think is going to take home the prize this year?
Honestly, Pittsburgh is just looking stronger and stronger. They started out the season maybe a little shaky, maybe a little underrated, losing a couple of their strong players. But, I mean, with a core like Max Thorne, Rainai Dropchow, Trent Dillon, and Pat Earls, I mean, and Jonah Wish is like a back burner name. I mean, a team that's that deep is just, they're going to go deep into Sunday or Monday or whatever championship day is.
You're calling the three-peat.
Yeah, I would say that my prediction
I only ask the
be
hard questions here.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely say that my money's on Pitt, but UNC and Colorado, I think they have a good shot to throw up some upsets. I don't even know if it's an upset if you can when you have Jimmy Mickle on the field. So, but. Speaking of UNC, the Phoenix are definitely eager for the college season to be over so that they can get Jimmy Zorow. He's just a beast. He's UNC's O-line cutter. Has a ton of experience. I played a little bit with him last year. He came to some Phoenix practices. Really excited for him to see him out on the pro circuit. So
Cool. So yeah, the Phoenix, the way that the season is starting for the Phoenix, I think
they could definitely use him. I can say that. So.
Well, so that's interesting too, right? So this is the Breeze chasing their, assuming this game goes according to its current score, which looks like a decent bet right now. This will make the Breeze 3-1 on the year, but it will make the Phoenix 0-3. So the Phoenix have to figure out a way to get some wins. I mean, they were a playoff team last year, lost a little bit of talent, and they'll need to figure out a way to start winning some games if they want to be in the picture this year.
Exactly. And the thing that's working for the Phoenix is whenever the DC Breeze are coming out in this kind of junk, whenever they have the patience to swing it side to side and they aren't going north-south too quickly, they're getting these easy goals, and it just seems like it's an easy answer, but they just lack the patience to actually execute it. So hopefully they can study up on this tape and put up a better showing next time.
So they get one of their offensive points, and the Breeze O-line will take over here. You see Jarnell, you see Matsuka on the field. They find Tyler under. Tyler with a big fake, and he finds Jarnell again in the backfield. Upfield, it's a throwaway. Uncharacteristic of this game so far, but it'll give the Phoenix an opportunity to try to make this make a late push here. But Bushik throws it away, and it was a short-lived push at that.
And Jarnell with a nice big huck and bobbled indeed by Frankie. Frankie looking towards the center, doesn't see it. Tyler on the mark.
So I feel like
this looks like he got stalled out right there.
So that's what I was going to comment. I feel like has Frankie been playing a handler role all game, or is he getting more playtime late in this game? I feel like earlier in the game I didn't see him in the backfield as much.
I honestly think that he's been playing he's a decent defensive handler. So as soon as they get the D, he's back there. But unfortunately for the Phoenix, they haven't gotten too many today. So
the Ds have been few and far between.
Exactly. So we haven't seen him with the disc all too much. That's a nice possession-saving bid from Rosso. That's another one of our Hiva Hava players, and that's just something that he does on a regular basis. And he throws for a score to Bush.
So that's a good break for the Phoenix, but it's still, you can see the scoreboard there, only going to pull them within 8. Their work cut out with 3 minutes to play here.
Big lofty pull, bounces in the middle.
And here's Norris with the disc. Jarnell now.
Nice big huck.
He's going to find
Logan
Ryan out the back. And Logan Ryan looks like he almost misread it, or that upwind put maybe jumped a little bit on him. But he makes a layout saving catch to get the score. The Breeze now up by 9.
And actually watching that from the sideline in the stands, that was a laser from Jarnell. And the crowd was definitely giving Jarnell a little bit of flack for making it a little bit difficult for who was that? TJ Ryan?
That was Logan
Ryan. I'm sorry. And but Logan Ryan was definitely trying to milk that into the end zone and definitely misread that, but made the nice athletic play to save the disc. Wally with a nice big flick in towards the center, looking for Kenny, and Kenny with a nice catch. Looks like he was in the
tried
end
to call
zone.
himself in, but not given to him.
Not
by the
getting
referees.
anything, and he looks for an ill-advised flip over the back to Hampson. Not exactly sure what was going on there, but I thought from the sideline, I thought he was in. So did most of the fans in the stand.
So that was an interesting flip there. Might have showed the mentality of wow, Tyler, huge ups once again. DiGirolamo reeling in another goal, padding his stats for the day. But the point I was going to make is that flip, I think, shows a little bit of the mentality of the Phoenix right now, down by 9, just not giving it their all, which is unfortunate to see.
I think that also shows on that D. 3 Phoenix defenders trailing Tyler, and not a single one goes up for the disc. As a coach, you really want to see at least just some kind of effort, but when the score is this far out of reach, it's hard to blame the Phoenix players for not exactly going up and getting posterized by Tyler. So Jordan double teamed on the side over here, flips a hammer.
There's only 20 seconds left at this point.
Catches it, hamps it in the middle, finds Jordan again, who finds Wolf. Wolf with a big flick, and time's expired, and that's Kenny in the end zone.
They'll get the last point of the game, but it will be to no avail. The Breeze take home their third victory of the year, now 3-1, the only loss coming at the hands of the Toronto Rush. The Phoenix sink to 0-3 for the year, and I think they've got their work cut out for them.
Yep, they're
not only if they're trying to pull wins, but if they're trying to stay in some of these games against teams that have obviously restocked and rearmed over the offseason.
They got a tough next game against the New York Empire too, so hopefully they can bounce back and get back into the standings.
So the Phoenix active this week, and I think it's an away game at the Empire. The Breeze have a bye, and these same two teams will meet up in 2 weekends, which will actually be the Breeze's next game, and it will be, I believe, yet another one in Philadelphia. So thanks for tuning in once again to this AUDL game, and I will certainly talk to you again this season, and for how well Kevin did today, we'll see maybe if we can't get him back in the booth, because this was really